Bonjour Year 11 et bienvenue. So today we're going to start with our first ever cyclical quiz. This is an accumulation of do now questions from the previous fortnight's worth of lessons. So please record the date that is currently on the whiteboard in the classroom and the title Cyclical Quiz 1 into your blue book. You're going to have about 10 minutes in which to answer as many of these questions as possible from your brain, so without looking back into your books. Answer in as much detail or as much detail as as being requested in the question, and think carefully about those questions that require you to refer to different time frames or tenses. Check your accents and your spelling carefully. Pause the video here and have a go at these 10 questions. So let's have a look at the answers now to these first cyclical quiz questions. So question number 1 is give another way of saying dans le futur in French, and we've been looking at this a lot in class. The correct answer is à l'avenir, and this is the version that the exam board will use because it's not a cognate, unlike dans le futur. Number 2, some translation. Pour gagner de l'argent de poche, to earn pocket money, je travaille à la caisse dans un magasin. I work on the till in a shop. So to earn pocket money, I work on the till in a shop. Now each of these answers is worth 2 marks. We're going to have a total of 20 at the end. So if you put to earn pocket money, that's 1 mark. I work on the till in a shop, that's the 2nd mark. Number 3, we're transferring this sentence into the future. So the words we need to transfer are avant, je travaillais, and c'était. So we're going to have dans le futur or à l'avenir, je voudrais travailler or je vais travailler or je travaillerai, and ce sera or ça va être or ce serait. So again, 2 marks for that. Number 4, give 2 alternatives to je pense que. We could have à mon avis, selon moi, je crois que, je trouve que, d'après moi. So any 2 of those gets you your full 2 marks. If you've only got 1, then that's 1 mark. Number 5, we're looking for the errors in this sentence. First of all, we need to remove une, because after the verb être, we don't need un or une. We go straight into the job. So, ma mère est institutrice. And finally, français is the nationality or the language. So we need the actual country, the capital letter still because it's a proper noun, en France. 1 mark for each of those corrections. Number 6, recall the je form of être in 3 tenses. We could have any of these. Je suis, I am. J'étais, I was or I used to be. Je serai, I will be. Je serai, I would be. Je voudrais être, I would like to be. Or the subjunctive, que je sois. Any 3 for your full 2 marks. If you've only got 1 or 2, then that's only 1 mark. Number 7, recall the 4 J's in both French and English. And of course, this is important for us to be able to score grade 4 or higher at GCSE because it uses the present, the past, the future, and an opinion. Each part is worth 1/4 of a mark. So, j'aime is 1/4 of a mark. I like 1/4 of a mark. The remaining 3 4Js are here. J'ai décidé de, I decided to. Je vais, I am going. Je voudrais, I would like. And remember, all 4 of these 4Js are followed by an infinitive. Number 8, we're looking for 3 negatives now. So a negative, remember, hugs the verb. The ne goes before the verb. The second part goes after. And you could have any 3 of these for your full 2 marks. Ne plus, no longer. Ne jamais, never. Ne rien, nothing. Ne personne, nobody. Ne ni, neither nor. Ne que, only. Ne aucun, only. Number 9, what does this mean? Qu'est-ce qu'il y a sur la photo? Well, it's a phrase that we see in the photo card which appears in the speaking exam. Now, although you won't be sitting a speaking exam, we may still see this in a reading paper or even in a writing paper. And it means what is in the photo. And finally, some translation. My favourite subject is PE. Now remember, adjectives follow the noun in French, so it will literally be my subject favourite. It is PE, which is ma matière préférée, extra e on préférée because it's agreeing with ma matière. Ma matière préférée, c'est le PS. 1 mark if you have ma matière préférée, 1 mark for c'est le PS. So pause the video here, add up your marks and record those on the register that your cover teacher has. Okay, so let's move on with today's lesson. Last lesson, we started to look at this question. Qu'est-ce que tu voudrais faire à l'avenir? What would you like to do in the future? Et les objectifs sont discuter les projets pour le futur et utiliser les structures plus infinitifs. We should have this title in our books. If we don't, pause the video here and record that in your book. So let's start with some revision. We looked at 2 key structures last lesson. Après avoir and past participle and avant de plus the infinitive. So this exercise practices whether we can recognise those 2 structures in some sentence starters. On the left, we've got a column with 6 English phrases. And then we have columns A, B and C with 3 possible translations. For each number, you're looking for the correct and accurate translation. So we'll do number 1 together. After sitting my exams. Now we know that after is après. After sitting, so that's going to be using après avoir. And we need to sit an exam, which in French is the verb passer. Après avoir passé mes examens. Now we need to have a past participle after avoir, so we're looking for the sentence with the past participle. And if we look along, après avoir, here's a past participle, mes examens, so that's a possibility. Avant de, that's the incorrect structure. Après être passé, that's incorrect because passé would use avoir. So as a process of elimination, we've worked out that the correct answer is A. I'd like you to have a go at completing 2 to 6 now. Write the English into your blue book and select the correct option by writing down the whole sentence in French. Pause the video here. And here are the answers. Number 2, after travelling the world. The correct answer is B, après avoir fait le tour du monde. Après avoir plus our past participle, le tour du monde, the tour of the world. It couldn't be A because there was no past participle. It couldn't be C because this is avant de, so it's the incorrect structure. Number 3, after studying at uni is answer B, après avoir étudié à la fac. We have après, avoir and a past participle. It couldn't be A because it uses the incorrect structure, and it couldn't be C because there isn't a past participle. Number 4, after going to town. Now we know that the verb to go is a Mrs. Van der Tramp verb, so it uses être. So instead of après avoir, we're looking for après être. And the correct answer is A, après être allé. It couldn't be C because it's avant, so it's the incorrect structure. And it couldn't be B because it's got avoir, and aller is a verb that uses être. Number 5, before working. So we've got a change in structure now. We've moved from after to before. So we're looking for an avant de phrase. The only possibility with avant de is C, avant de travailler. Avant de plus an infinitive, the whole form of the verb. And finally, number 6, before having a family. Again, it's before, so avant de. It's not A because there's no de. It's not B because there's no infinitive, so it has to be C, avant d'avoir une famille. Now, if you manage to get onto the challenge, le défi, it was to translate this sentence. Avant de continuer mes études, je voudrais faire le tour du monde, which translates to, before continuing my studies, I would like to tour the world. Now, in your book from last lesson, there is a worksheet which has this text on it. Can you find that now? So this teenager is talking about their future plans using the phrases avant de and après avoir plus past participle. We're going to read it through together, so get a bookmark or a ruler and follow line by line as I read. Then we're going to go back over it and we're going to dissect it a bit and you can annotate the text. Blog, plan de vie. Avant de continuer mes études à l'université, j'aimerais prendre une année sabbatique. Mon but est de voyager dans plusieurs pays et puis, après être rentré en France, je voudrais faire du bénévolat pendant 6 mois. Ce serait une expérience très enrichissante qui me permettrait de devenir plus autonome. Après avoir eu ma licence à la fac, j'aimerais trouver un travail stimulant et réussir ma carrière. Plus tard, j'aimerais avoir des enfants, mais d'abord, je voudrais me marier. Être marié avant de fonder une famille est important pour moi. Now this description here, this passage is full of wonderful language and lots of the sage strategies that we have been used to using to get those top grades. So let's go back up to the beginning and start to dissect this. So here we've got an avant de, so a before sentence. Avant de continuer mes études à l'université. So before continuing my studies at university. We could also say à la fac, which is short for à la faculté, because technically you study in a faculty, a department, rather than a whole university. J'aimerais, remember, is an alternative to je voudrais, prendre une année sabbatique. The last lesson we talked about taking a sabbatical year, so a year where you take time out and you might travel around the world or maybe do some volunteer work. Mon but, my aim, est de voyager dans plusieurs pays. So my aim is to travel to several countries. Plusieurs is a lovely word, very underused. Plusieurs is several countries. Et puis, après être rentré en France, after having returned to France, rentrer is a Mrs. Van der Tramp verb, so it uses être here as the infinitive, the auxiliary verb here. And then we've got our past participle. Now, you'll notice that this has got an extra E on it because it's referring to the person who's talking, who in this case is this young lady here. So it agrees with the subject, après être rentré. Je voudrais faire du bénévolat pendant 6 mois. So this person would like to do some volunteer work. Faire du bénévolat. That's to do volunteer work. And if you faire du bénévolat, you are called un bénévole, a volunteer worker. So faire du bénévolat is to do voluntary work or volunteer work. And if you do that, you are known as un bénévole. Now we've got a word in English, benevolent. If you are benevolent to someone, you're caring, you're kind, you might give them things. Benevolent. Ce serait une expérience très enrichissante. So it would be an experience that is very enriching, enrichissante. Notice the agreement here because it's referring to une expérience. Qui me permettrait de devenir plus autonome. So it's an experience that would allow her, qui me permettrait de devenir, to become, we looked at this when we were talking about different jobs, devenir, to become, plus autonome, so more autonomous, so more independent. The opposite of plus, remember, is moins. Après avoir eu ma licence à la fac, now this is not a license like a driving license, this is your degree, ma licence. So after having gotten my degree at university, à la fac, j'aimerais trouver, I would like to find, j'aimerais trouver un travail stimulant. I'd like to find a stimulating job. Un travail, remember, comes from the verb travailler, to work. You could also say un emploi, like employment, un emploi, or un métier, a profession. The word boulot that we've looked at in relation to mon petit boulot is more your part-time job. So here we've used un travail. Un travail, a job, stimulant, stimulating job, et réussir ma carrière, succeed in my career, réussir, to succeed. Plus tard, now we know plus is more, tard is late, so more late, so later on in life, j'aimerais avoir des enfants. I would like to have children. J'aimerais avoir des enfants. Mais d'abord is a sequencer, first of all, d'abord, je voudrais me marier. I would like to get married. Now literally it says, I would like myself to marry. Je voudrais me marier. It doesn't mean you're marrying yourself, it means you put yourself forward to be married. Être marié. Now you'll notice here that we're starting a sentence with an infinitive, and that is the I part of sage, an infinitive sentence starter. Être marié, to be married. Avant de fonder une famille, so being married before starting, founding, developing a family, est important pour moi. Être marié avant de fonder une famille est important pour moi. So let's just go over the vocab here in the challenge. Several countries is plusieurs pays, volunteer work, faire du bénévolat, enriching, enrichissant, feminine here, enrichissante, my degree, ma licence. First of all, d'abord, and to have a family, fonder une famille. Pause the video here and order these activities below in the coloured blobs in the order that this person refers to them in her life. Okay, we're going to move on now to some listening. On va écouter. Alors, pour chaque personne, notez les détails suivants en anglais. On va écouter 3 personnes. So we're listening for what they would want to do in the future, what they don't want to do, and any other details. So they're going to be using some of the language which we can see in this sentence builder here. First column, we've already seen that vocabulary today or last lesson. As we have with these structures, let's just take a little look at some of these activities. Starting with this one, entrer en apprentissage. This is to start an apprenticeship. So somewhere, an activity where you learn on the job, so maybe something more practical like carpentry. Faire du bénévolat, we've just talked about, is to do volunteer work. Me marier, we've just seen, to get married. This is a new verb though, me paxer. Now if you look up in the dictionary, it's se paxer as the infinitive. And it means to enter into a civil partnership with somebody. Now this exists in France. It's known as le pax, which stands for le pacte civil de solidarité. And is a contractual form of civil union between two people. And it brings you rights and responsibilities, but not quite on the same level as being married to somebody. So if you wanted to commit to somebody, buy a house with them, have some legal rights with them, you could enter into this pax agreement. And the verb for that is se paxer. So je voudrais me paxer is I would like to enter into a civil partnership. Just below that, m'installer avec mon copain or ma copine is to settle down with your boyfriend or your girlfriend. And here we've just seen fonder une famille is to have children. So I'm going to read to you what 3 people would like to do in their future. I would like you to pull out in English what they would like to do, what they don't want to do, and any additional details. Here's number 1. Numéro 1. Moi, j'ai envie d'aller à l'université pour faire des études de droit. Je voudrais devenir avocat et réussir ma vie professionnelle. Mais j'ai aussi l'intention de fonder une famille plus tard. Avoir des enfants, c'est très important pour moi. Par contre, je n'ai aucune intention de me marier. À mon avis, le mariage n'a plus d'importance de nos jours. Numéro 1. Moi, j'ai envie d'aller à l'université pour faire des études de droit. Je voudrais devenir avocat et réussir ma vie professionnelle. Mais j'ai aussi l'intention de fonder une famille plus tard. Avoir des enfants, c'est très important pour moi. Par contre, je n'ai aucune intention de me marier. À mon avis, le mariage n'a plus d'importance de nos jours. Numéro 2. Je veux à tout prix faire le tour du monde. J'ai envie de partir à l'aventure et de rencontrer de nouvelles personnes. Après être rentré en France, je voudrais entrer en apprentissage pour devenir web designer. Continuer mes études à l'université, ça ne m'intéresse pas. Il y a d'autres moyens pour apprendre un métier. Deux. Je veux à tout prix faire le tour du monde. J'ai envie de partir à l'aventure et de rencontrer de nouvelles personnes. Après être rentré en France, je voudrais entrer en apprentissage pour devenir web designer. Continuer mes études à l'université, ça ne m'intéresse pas. Il y a d'autres moyens pour apprendre un métier. 3. Je n'ai ni envie d'aller à l'université, ni d'entrer en apprentissage. L'important pour moi, c'est d'aider les gens. Donc, je voudrais prendre une année sabbatique et faire du bénévolat à l'étranger. C'est l'Amérique du Sud qui m'attire le plus et je voudrais m'occuper d'enfants défavorisés. Après avoir fait ça, j'essaierai de trouver un poste à plein temps dans une organisation humanitaire en France, telle que SOS Enfants. 3. Je n'ai ni envie d'aller à l'université, ni d'entrer en apprentissage. L'important pour moi, c'est d'aider les gens. Donc, je voudrais prendre une année sabbatique et faire du bénévolat à l'étranger. C'est l'Amérique du Sud qui m'attire le plus et je voudrais m'occuper d'enfants défavorisés. Après avoir fait ça, j'essaierai de trouver un poste à plein temps dans une organisation humanitaire en France, telle que SOS Enfants. So here's the transcript that I just read, and we're going to work through that now and pull out what each person would like to do, what they wouldn't like to do, and any additional information. So number 1 says that they would like to go to university, and the additional information there is to study law, droit. They would like to become a lawyer, avocat, and be successful in their professional life. They would also like to have a family, because having children is very important. However, par contre, they have no intention of getting married. And the additional information was, in their opinion, marriage no longer has any importance in everyday life or life nowadays. Number 2 says that at all costs, à tout prix, that's a nice phrase to make a note of, je veux à tout prix, I want at all cost, any cost, faire le tour du monde. They would like to tour the world. They would like to go on an adventure and to meet, rencontrer, new people, meet new people. On returning to France, they would like to do an apprenticeship to become a web designer. For this person, continuing their studies at university does not interest them. Ça ne m'intéresse pas. They believe that there are other ways of learning a profession. So that's your extra information. And finally, number 3. Now this had one of the more complex negatives in it. Ne, ni, neither, nor. So they neither want to go to university nor start an apprenticeship. What is important for them though is helping other people. Aider les gens. Now the verb aider, like in English, if we send aid to a country, we send help to them. So the verb aider is the verb to help. They want to help people. Therefore, they might go on a sabbatical year. They might do voluntary work, and that might be à l'étranger, abroad. The area that interests them the most, qui m'attire le plus, is South America. And this person particularly would like to look after enfants défavorisés, so impoverished or disadvantaged children. After having done that, they would like to try to find a full-time job, un poste à plein temps, in a humanitarian charity or organisation. And they give an example here, SOS Enfants. Okay, let's move to our exit task, notre tâche de sortie. Qu'est-ce que tu voudrais faire à l'avenir? On va écrire 40 à 50 mots en français pour parler de nos projets futurs. So using the writing frame here, the sentence builder, we're going to put together 40 to 50 words to describe our future plans. Don't forget to try to use at least one avant deux plus infinitive phrase, at least one après avoir past participle idea, maybe even an infinitive sentence starter. We've got the structures here, we've got the activities. Don't forget to include an opinion. For example, ce serait, it would be. And to challenge yourself, you could talk about a friend. Il veut, he wants. Il préférerait, he would prefer. Or il espère, he hopes. Use the above sentence builder. Use any other information you've got from this week's lessons or your knowledge organizer. This should take you about 20 minutes. When you've finished, proofread carefully, checking spellings, accents, and making sure you've got a good range of sage ideas in there. At home, as part of your homework, please take a photo of this paragraph and email that to me for some feedback. In addition to that, your homework is to complete the exercises that we circled on the sheet for practicing avant deux and après avoir plus past participle that we started in Tuesday's lesson. If there are any questions, please email me or come to see me tomorrow. Merci beaucoup, Year 11. Au revoir.